Imagine a wave of over 2,700 people in just 1 year, all heading south. Midwesterners are packing up and moving in droves to the northern suburbs of Atlanta. I know I sure did. People from Illinois, Michigan, and Minnesota are trading snowstorms for sunshine, and it's happening right now. But this isn't just a trend. It's a massive shift reshaping the future. So what's pulling them south? You won't believe the real reason behind this exodus. Let me kick things off by breaking down the migration trends. In 2023, Georgia gained around 57,500 residents through domestic migration, ranking 6th nationally. But it gets even more interesting when we dig into who's moving here and where they're settling. The U.S. Census Bureau's state-to-state migration data is absolutely fascinating. Georgia isn't just growing, it's doing exceptionally well in attracting people from other states. And when we zoom in on where these folks are coming from, the Midwest shows up in a big way. The IRS migration data gives us a great window into what's happening. For example, looking at Cobb County, just one of our northern suburbs, over a recent 5-year period, the county saw significant inflows from Midwestern states. From Illinois alone, more than 1,000 people moved to Cobb County. Ohio contributed over 400 new residents, Indiana, about 400, Michigan, nearly 400, Iowa, over 200, Minnesota, over 180, and Missouri, my birthplace, about 120 new folks. Now, these numbers are based on tax returns, so the actual numbers of individuals is likely much higher when you consider all the family members moving together. And that's an important point. We're not just talking about individuals, but often entire families making this huge life change. And what's interesting is how this trend has continued in recent years. Georgia isn't losing any momentum as a destination. If anything, the pattern remains strong as more Midwesterners discover what these northern Atlanta suburbs have to offer. You know, I always tell people that migration patterns like this don't just happen randomly. People vote with their feet. And right now they're voting for North Atlanta in a big way. There's gotta be good reasons for that, right? So why are so many Midwesterners specifically choosing these northern Atlanta suburbs? Let's dig into the economic stuff that makes this such an attractive move. But quick heads up, before we dive in, make sure to subscribe so you're always up to date on what's happening in Atlanta real estate and the northern suburbs. New developments, market trends, neighborhood insights. I got it all covered for you. While many Midwest cities are facing economic stagnation, North Atlanta's job market is thriving, and it creates a powerful reason to pack up and move. Let me show you why it matters so much. When I talk to families who've made the jump, job opportunities almost always come up as a top reason. And the data totally backs this up. Take Forsyth County, one of our premier suburbs. According to recent reports from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Forsyth had the biggest employment increase among Georgia's largest counties, with a 3% rise as of mid-2024. That might not sound huge until you realize the national average was just 0.8%. We're talking about job growth at nearly 4 times the national rate in Forsyth County. That is impressive. And it's not just Forsyth County. Look at Cobb County. The unemployment rate there is just 3.3% as of early 2025. That's notably lower than their long-term average of about 4.6%. For folks coming from more uncertain job markets in the Midwest, this kind of stability is super attractive. Here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about finding jobs, it's about what you actually keep from your paycheck. While the Tax Foundation mainly analyzes tax competitiveness, moving industry data consistently shows that Americans are relocating to lower tax states, and Georgia is often ranked among the top states for inbound moves. For people coming from high tax states like Illinois, with those high property and income taxes, Georgia's more moderate tax structure puts real money back in your pocket. I've had clients from Chicago, and I've experienced this, tell me that they've saved thousands each year just from the tax differences alone. That's real money. I remember working with this family from Michigan last year, and both parents found jobs in their fields within weeks of deciding to relocate, with salary bumps to boot. But what got them really excited is how much further their money went here. Between lower property taxes and Georgia's more reasonable income tax, they figured they saved around $7,500 per year. As they told me, that's a family vacation and then some. Now, the economic opportunity isn't just about finding a job, it's about growth potential. Many of our northern suburbs have offices for major corporations and tons of thriving small businesses. The diversified economy creates stability and opportunities that many Midwest cities just can't match right now. But beyond the money stuff, Midwesterners are drawn here for some major quality of life upgrades that tackle common Midwest pain points. So let's dive into that. When Midwesterners tell me why they moved to the northern suburbs of Atlanta, 3 quality of life factors always top their list. First up, education. This, of course, is huge for families. And north of Atlanta delivers big time. Counties like Cobb, Cherokee, Forsyth, and Gwinnett have earned killer reputations for their school systems. For Midwest families with school-age kids, this educational advantage often seals the deal. I always ask my clients with kids what matters most to them, and education typically tops their list. In Forsyth County, for example, the public schools consistently rank among Georgia's best. Parents tell me they're impressed not just by test scores, but by the facilities, the extracurriculars, and innovative programs for their kids. The second big factor, the weather. Now, if you've ever spent a winter in Chicago, I have spent many, or maybe even Milwaukee or Minneapolis, you know exactly what I'm talking about. North Atlanta's moderate winters are huge relief from these brutal Midwest winters with extreme cold, mountains of snow, and sky-high heating bills. Get this, instead of shoveling snow and scraping ice off your windshield in February, you could be enjoying outdoor activities in the mid 50 to 60 degree weather. I had a client from Iowa where I went to college who told me the first winter after we moved, I kept waiting for the really bad weather to hit. When March came around and it never did, I realized we'd made the right choice. And of course, their family members back home in Iowa were saying something a little different. Sure, Atlanta summers, they're warmer, but the overall year-round climate is way more enjoyable for outdoor stuff. Many Midwesterners will gladly trade a few hot months for escaping those brutal northern winters. And the third quality of life factor, all the fun stuff to do. The northern suburbs have tons of amenities that make life more enjoyable. Areas like Alpharetta have attractions like Avalon and downtown Alpharetta, with entertainment, dining, and shopping options that genuinely spark joy for new residents. But what really sets this region apart is how close you are to both city stuff and natural beauty. Within just an hour's drive, you can be hiking in the North Georgia mountains or hanging out at Lake Lanier. Go the other direction and you're in downtown Atlanta with amazing art, sports, and food. It's seriously the best of both worlds. I've worked with so many families who can't believe how much there is to do here year-round. One client from Minnesota put it perfectly. Back home, we had amazing summers, but spent half the year stuck indoors. Here, we feel like we've gained months of our lives back because we can be outside and active almost all year. Now, these quality of life benefits are super compelling, but where exactly are people living when they get here? The housing situation adds another big piece to understanding this migration trend. For a lot of Midwesterners, selling homes in established markets, their housing dollars stretch way further in these growing communities north of Atlanta. Cobb County's housing assessment describes it as one of the largest and most dynamic counties in the state and Southeast, both in terms of population and employment. The county is projected to approach or surpass 1 million residents by 2050, according to the Atlanta Regional Commission. That's not just a number, that's an opportunity for folks looking to put down roots in a thriving area. What I find is especially cool for my clients is all the different housing options. Whether you want a starter home, a luxury estate, or something in between, these northern suburbs have choices at all kinds of price points. The ongoing developments and new construction, especially in places like Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Roswell, and Marietta, means there's something for pretty much every budget and lifestyle. But let me tell you about this couple that I worked with from Ohio. They sold their 1,800 square foot home outside of Cleveland, and they couldn't believe they could afford a 2,500 square foot new construction home with all the modern bells and whistles in Cherokee County for about the same price. The wife, it was so sweet, she actually cried when they walked through their new home for the first time. And she cried in a good way. The value difference was that big for them. Now looking at job numbers, Forsyth County shows super strong figures with over 130,000 employed residents as of late 2024, and a low unemployment rate of just 2.7%. This county, along with others in the north like Cherokee and Gwinnett, consistently outperform state and national averages in economic metrics. And do you know what? This economic strength directly feeds the robust housing market. When people have good jobs and financial stability, they can buy homes with confidence. But another thing that makes these communities so appealing is how they're designed. Many of the newer developments have mixed-use elements, walking trails, community pools, and other amenities that create a sense of connection. I've had numerous clients tell me they know more neighbors after 6 months here than they did after years in their Midwest neighborhood. The housing itself is super diverse too. You can find older homes with a character in established neighborhoods, brand new construction with all the latest features, townhomes for those looking to minimize maintenance, and everything everything in between. What really gets me excited about the housing market here is the forward-thinking approach to development. Counties like Forsyth and Cobb are planning thoughtfully for growth, with attention to infrastructure, green space, and quality of life considerations. They're not just building houses, they're creating communities. But while relocating here, of course, has tons of benefits, no move comes without challenges. Let's look at the adjustment issues Midwesterners typically face when moving to the northern suburbs. The number one challenge I hear from my clients: traffic. It's absolutely the most common adjustment issue, especially along the northern corridors of I-75, I-85, and Georgia 400. If you're used to a 15-minute commute in a smaller Midwest city, Atlanta area traffic takes some getting used to. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most of my clients find ways to adapt after the initial shock. Many take advantage of flexible work arrangements. Maybe they shift their commute times to avoid rush hour, or they choose home specifically to minimize drive time. And honestly, some tell me that while the traffic might be heavier, winter driving in the Midwest was actually more stressful despite shorter distances. Another adjustment point is the limited public transportation compared to cities like Chicago. I sure miss that L train. Most residents in the northern suburbs depend on cars. There are commuter buses and some transit options, but they're just not as extensive as what you might find in major Midwest cities. And get this, seasonal allergies are another adjustment for many Midwesterners. Georgia's spring pollen season can be intense due to all the trees. You'll see cars covered in yellow-green dust for a few weeks after the spring. We just hosed this deck off because it was covered in all yellow. According to the Asthma and Allergy Foundation, Atlanta actually ranks around average, 40th out of 100. For cities with the most challenging pollen and allergy season. So while the pollen, it's noticeable, we can't lie about that, it's not the very worst in the country. Now, I always try to give my clients realistic expectations about these challenges. As one of my Midwestern transplants told me, no place is perfect. We traded shoveling snow for dealing with traffic, and we're happy with that bargain. But what I find super helpful is connecting new arrivals with others who have made similar moves. The advice, the support, from those who have already figured out the transition can make a huge difference. There are even social groups, specifically for Midwest transplants in several communities. And despite these challenges, the data clearly shows this migration trend continuing to accelerate. Here's what this means for the future of both regions. The numbers paint a pretty clear picture. Driven by economic opportunity, tax advantages, housing value, education quality, and lifestyle benefits, Midwesterners are relocating to the suburbs of North Atlanta at unprecedented rates, reshaping both regions. As Cobb County continues its projected growth towards 1 million residents by 2050, and as another suburb follows similar trajectories, the region's status as a premier destination for Midwestern migrants isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But what does this mean for you? If you're considering a similar move, the growing communities of Forsyth, Cobb, Gwinnett, and Cherokee counties provide particularly attractive destinations, combining economic opportunity with suburban amenities. And if you're already here, you're positioned in one of America's most dynamic growth regions. Curious why so many people are relocating to these northern suburbs? I can show you firsthand and even give you access to off-market homes you won't find anywhere else. After over 20 years helping families settle in Alpharetta, I know the neighborhoods that offer the best mix of value and lifestyle. Send me an email at stephanie.patterson@coldteamrealestate.com or check the description for my full contact details. And before you head out, be sure to check out my next video linked on the screen. It takes an even closer look at these neighborhoods and what makes them such a great place to live. See you there.